What's going on, everybody? This is Alan Lowman with Lowman Education, and today I'm going to show you this game-changing tool called the Frequency Chart. It is an absolutely essential tool for teachers to use throughout their year to help them prioritize what they need to be emphasizing with their students. It is a free download on our website, lowmaneducation.com. Create a free account. And let me jump in and show you what this bad boy is all about. Really quickly, here's my story. I was a Texas teacher for 11 years, and man, we kept getting distinction year after year because of our master's rate was so high at a Title I campus. You can see us, man, we were always at the top. Here's my story real quick before we get to the frequency chart. It helps explain why this is needed. It applies to all subjects, but I'm going to walk through social studies real quick, but I'll show you with all the other subjects. So 8th grade social studies, here's what's terrible about 8th grade social studies. There's 92 TEKS, and then each TEK is jam-packed with content. This TEK's got a lot, this TEK's got a lot, this TEK's got a lot. When you pull out all the content that exists inside of the TEK, you got thousands of things, thousands of concepts and skills and knowledge that the kids are expected to master. You work as hard as you can to get them to master all this stuff, and at the end of the year, bam, there was only just a couple questions that were on the STAR test. And you're like, man, my kids learned a lot, but they happen to forget this, they happen to forget that, they happen to forget this. And so what's frustrating is your kids could learn and grow a lot, but that may not be what was assessed, and so it looks like your kids didn't learn that year. And man, at our campus, we're going to make sure our kids can show off their learning and show off how much they've learned. So what we try to do was hunt down the essential concepts that keep showing up on the STAR test. So here's a big mistake that everybody makes across all disciplines. They only prioritize the TEK. They stop at the TEK level. What's the readiness TEK? What's the essential standards that we've identified? And they stay here. But what our team did was dove into the standard, dove into the TEK and said, within this TEK, what's been tested 1 or more times? What's been tested 2 or more times? What's been tested 3 or more times? And it's just like, this is so fabulous. This information is priceless. Everybody across Texas is prioritizing TEKs. I'm telling you, don't prioritize TEKs, prioritize concepts. Which concepts do we need to be prioritizing? Otherwise, you'll be all in on the Second Amendment and you'll think like, oh, my kids got this question right. They know TEK 19B. No, don't play that game. Prioritize content. And so whenever we did this, here's a game-changing thing. We taught everything, but we realized there were really just 90 concepts that kept showing up year after year after year after year on the STAR test. And so our philosophy was, man, we're going to teach everything, but we're prioritizing these concepts, not TEKs, concepts that keep showing up. Okay, so that's the background to understand where the frequency chart comes in and why it's helpful. I'm going to walk through examples for all the grades and subjects. Let me jump in with 8th grade social studies, and then we'll start pivoting to the other grades and subjects, but it's the same concept. Here's a unit. Here's how many days we're going to spend on this unit. On day 1, here's the concepts that we're covering. Here's which TEKs they align to. But most importantly, how frequently is this concept assessed over the last several years? And man, at a quick instance, at a quick glance, the teacher knows, I'm teaching all these concepts today, but what's my exit pass going to be over? What am I going to make sure my kids leave this room knowing? And then even at the end of the unit, you're not going to say, oh man, 2A, my kids need to know 2A. You're going to say, no, my kids need to know reasons for exploration, New Spain, and France. And man, that subtle shift from prioritizing TEKs to prioritizing content, you're on your way to help your kids being successful at the end of the year and show off what they've learned all year. So, man, I love it. And then what was even more beneficial for our team is you can actually click on these X's, and they are hyperlinked questions to the release STAR test. Just for an example, when I pulled up this question and I saw the right answer was to expand empires, I didn't even use the word empires in my classroom. But if that's a vocabulary that they're going to use, and I'm going to adjust my instruction to make sure that I am practicing with my students the way that it shows up on the STAR test. And just other fun things to look at. Look at how infrequently Jamestown's assessed. Look at how infrequently 1776 is assessed. Look at how rarely Shoot Lexington and Concord, finally it was assessed. Look at Boston Massacre, how frequently or not it's assessed. Man, it's crazy to look at some of these things and Man, it was just eye-opening for us to see what do we need to prioritize. Cover everything. But what do we need to be prioritizing along the way? This was a tool that we used to help us. We got it for math too. Here's an 8th grade math example. This is transformational geometry. Here's how many days we're going to spend on this unit. But just let's look at the first couple days. The first 6 days of this unit, it's all about the same TEK, but on different days we're working on different parts of the TEK. And man, real quickly, you can look at this and instantly know, like, man, I'm going to work on all these skills with my kids, but I'm definitely going to practice their translations because it keeps showing up. And then what is even more powerful, again, when you click on the X, you can see exactly how is it assessed on STAR. This was phenomenal information to have because look at how this is assessed. It says, what is the rule that describes this translation? It doesn't actually ask the kids to do the translation themselves. It says, what is the rule? Let's look how else it's assessed. What is the rule? Man, I could click on every single one of these and it's always, what is the rule? What is the rule? What is the rule? So as a teacher, man, you can practice it lots of different ways with your kids, but by God, you better be practicing the way that it shows up on STAR, asking them, what is the rule? And then here's a science example, 5th grade science. Here's properties of matter. Here's a unit. Here's how many days we're going to spend on this. But man, let's zoom in right here. Days 3 through 7. All of this is 6A. Look at all of the concepts in 6A. Listen, you better make sure your kids learn all this information, cover it with them, make sure they understand it. But when you circle back, if you had to prioritize one thing from all these days, man, look at how frequently density is assessed. And man, when you try to prioritize everything, nothing is a priority. And so it really helps kids, and it even helps you as a teacher to know, like, yes, I'm going to cover everything, but what are the essential things? And this chart can help you. And then beyond that, click on these questions and see, how is it assessed? And then reflect as a teacher, like, man, have my kids practice it this way? Because there's nothing more frustrating than you practice it as a teacher one way and the kids practice it one way, and then it shows up on the STAR test another way. It's just instant information at your fingertips to help you work smarter as a teacher, not harder. 4th grade RLA. Here is the fiction genre. Here's how many days we're going to spend working on fiction. Here's the concepts we're practicing with fiction text. And then at a quick glance, you can see how frequently these concepts are assessed. And I know this is not a surprise, but man, making inferences about characters, shoot, that's assessed a lot. Well, the next thing you need to do is, man, how is inferencing assessed with this? With fiction text. You can click on it. Look at this question. This is a 4th grade question. It says, what does paragraph 11 reveal about Christopher's character? Reveal is a tough word for kids in 4th grade. And if they're using this terminology on the test, we need to be using the terminology with our students every day. So that when they get to the test, they've practiced like they're going to play. They're familiar with those vocabulary. They're familiar with the way the questions are asked, so they can demonstrate, hey, I've practiced inferencing. I have this knowledge. And because I have the vocabulary, we've practiced vocabulary, man, I can get these questions out on STAR test. The last thing that I'm going to leave you with is this. It's not about the TEK. The TEK is too vague. Everybody across Texas is trying to prioritize TEKs. Hear me say this. Within the TEK, which concepts can we be prioritizing? And then even further, man, how is it actually asked? That, man, if you get, I know it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but man, in your PLCs, during your planning time, if you can move from the TEK to the concept within the TEK to how is it actually assessed, boom, game changer. Okay, to download this bad boy, it's free at lowmaneducation.com. If you create an account at lowmaneducation.com, here are the different subjects. You click focus package, and then bam, there's the frequency chart for you to download. I'm so excited because it was so helpful to me as a teacher. It helped me work smarter. It helped me, be less stressed. It helped me have a plan. And man, it was just so much fun to be in the classroom, work hard. And at the end of the year, man, your kids got to show off how genius they were and help them be successful. Man, that's what teaching is all about, is helping those kids feel success, feel confident. And this was the secret weapon that we use as teachers. It's called the Frequency Chart. Download it for free at lowmaneducation.com. Man, if you like this video, hit like, subscribe to our channel, our YouTube channel. We're adding new content all the time, so check out the other videos. Man, y'all have a great year this year, and let that frequency chart help you work smarter.